What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the vlog. As you can see, we have quite a bit done here already. We missed some of the key footage from the last phase of this because of all the craziness with the coronavirus, possible shutdowns, so we're focused on just getting as much done as possible. So we are about to start on the framing portion of this. We have 2 decks going in. I will catch you up on all the retaining wall stuff, our base preparation, and all that kind of stuff as we go here. For now, we're gonna try to get these 2 decks framed. It's a really cool design, so stay tuned. So in today's video, I'm gonna show you how we're gonna frame these 2 really efficiently and the steps that we put in place to make sure that this happens very quickly, because we do have an inspection tomorrow. So we have 2 decks to frame, and we gotta make sure everything's in before tomorrow morning before that inspector comes. So these are just the little tricks that we've established to make this go a lot faster. You can see here we have our footings installed, and here we have a 6x6 bracket on the bottom. These are going to hold our beams, which are going to be 3 by 2 by 12. So it's a 3-ply 2 by 12 that's going to go on here. We used such a big beam here so that we can span almost 13 feet. So we only have 8 footings for 2 decks. So that was our goal here, to minimize the footings. And you can see we have a ledger board attachment here. This is a new construction home, so we know everything on the house is intact. It's going to be solid to connect to. That's gonna be the first step, getting this ledger board installed and getting it anchored properly. So the first thing that we did was cut out our siding here, and we figured out the elevation of this along with the retaining wall elevations way beforehand. We know that this needs to be minus 5.5 inches from our door threshold, so that's where we have it here. And to get it installed, we just tack it up with nails first to get it up there, and then we have our ledger locks. And there's gonna be a chart online for these to see how often you need to install these. On this application, it's every 16 inches. We marked out our joist location so that we don't have one of these where we need to put a joist hanger or anything. So I'm installing these in between every joist bay. Not only is it not gonna fall behind one of our joist hangers, but the inspector is gonna be able to see it tomorrow and make sure we have all of our anchors in the correct location. Now that we have our ledger board up and we have our 2 beams in place here, you can see these are triple 2 by 12s. Assemble them close to where you're gonna install them because they're very heavy. We have 4 people here, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Another little tip.
Don't do this with your string line.
I'm gonna show you how to square up these beams so that we can start building and everything's in place. So we're just using the framing square. You can see that we have that huge collapsible square in the corner there. But we need Pat to hold the camera, so we're gonna use the blue framing square. This ledger board attachment is nice and flat because everything's new construction, so I'm pretty confident that we can get a nice square reading with that framing square, and it's a lot easier to handle. All right, so let's get that up there. Is that square?
Yeah, pretty close there.
Okay. So, we're square right there, and as you can see, these beams need to go over, so I'm gonna hold the camera. Pat is going to grab a sledgehammer, and he's just gonna tap these into submission. All right, keep going. There you go. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it with the camera, the line's a little hard to see, but we now have our first beam right in place, and our second beam we still need to move over a couple inches. So I'm gonna let Pat tap that over, and then we'll recheck it. You gotta go like another 1.5 inches or so. Hit that boy. Ooh! All right, now tap it. He's so strong. All right, so just like that, took us about 2 minutes. Now we have this thing all squared up, ready to go. We can anchor this to our base plates now, and then we're ready to frame. So everything's marked out, everything's ready to go. The joists are gonna go up in no time. Another very important part of the process is properly flashing that ledger. So anytime you're attached to the house, you wanna make sure you have some flashing on that so water can go over top right over top of the ledger, and you're not gonna have any rot in your house. You can't use aluminum flashing, so we go with this pre-bent plastic deck ledger. You can get it at Home Depot. It's just a couple bucks, and it's pre-bent, and it extends pretty high up the side of the wall, which I really like. What do you say about that type of behavior, Pat?
Unacceptable.
Okay.
Mas.
So now that we have our beams and our ledgers in place, flashing is up, the boys over there by our lumber pile separated our 2x8 joists into 7 1/4, 7 3/8, and 7 1/2 thickness. So we're gonna start with the 7 1/2 all the way on this side, and then on this deck we will end with 7 1/4. So everything will be nice and flat on top. And since we have everything marked out, everything's figured out beforehand, you're gonna see how quick this part goes. Maybe 45 minutes we'll have both decks framed up. So it only took us about a half hour to get all these joists up into place because we had everything marked out. So that's going really well. They're finished.
They're getting finished.
They're being nailed in right now, so that'll be all set. But the real key to keeping this thing moving really efficiently is all the planning that we put into this. So I'm gonna show you a bit more about what we planned and why it's helping us out so much. This is the packet that I've made. I made about 5 copies, so everyone has one. We not only have our timeline here, so that is what we want to accomplish each day and which order we want to go in. We also have all of our materials on here, so we know how many of each thing we should have gotten. And here's where it really is helping us a lot. So we have all of those joists up into place, and you can see how everything is planned out here. We not only have our joists and everything like that, we have blocking and even our trim nailers. So for the blocking, I know I need 2 2x8 by 16s, and I can get all 20 of those pieces cut out of that. Also have our stair details all figured out, so I know exactly what my stringers should look like, how they're gonna get installed, and which pieces we're using for each spot, so that we don't accidentally use the wrong size piece and be short somewhere else. So we've got all this figured out, and it's helping immensely. So because we have all of that figured out, we have Scooter who's going to be cutting all the blocking right now. Look at him go with that cordless circular saw. That thing has been amazing so far. But we're nailing in the rest of the joists. Pat is gonna start hanging our joist hangers on our ledger board. Josh is cutting our blocking, and then he's gonna start cutting for those nailers. So typically we would frame this out. I would stand around, measure, figure out how long those nailers need to be, everything like that, and I would always order a bunch of extra 2x4s. Now we have it all figured out. We know exactly how many we need, and everything can be going on simultaneously, and it's gonna be done a lot more efficiently, which is key. What do you think of the plans?
Huge time saver.
The unsung hero on every deck project is the one that puts in all the hardware, joist hangers and hurricane clips.
He's just trying to make me feel good because I'm not smart enough to do anything else.
No, he's so smart that it's the only one I trust with this task. Anyway, it's like a Mr. Miyagi situation. Wax on, wax off. Hammer on.
That's about it.
And that's it. There's no hammer off. Just keep hammering on. What we got here is our stringer plan. I know exactly how many stringers we need. I know which height they need to be at, and I know which pieces of lumber to cut them out of. So we have 3 2x12 by 16s that are gonna be good enough to cut all of our stringers. I'm gonna get this first one traced up, and then Scooter is gonna take over and he's gonna cut them all. Once we have all the stringers cut and assembled, we install them into place using some ledger locks. I like to put some just regular screws in there to get it up there, make sure it's nice and level, and then we'll lag it in with these Fasten Master ledger locks, and it works really good. So last step is going to be putting in posts to support this set of stairs. And it's also going to be backfilled with clean stone right up to it, so it's going to be supported by the posts, also by the clean stone. The patio is going to run right into the front of the stairs. So we're going to have this finished up, and then we can move on to the patio. So just like that, we finished our frame and we got our framing inspection. So now we're ready to keep this project moving. Hope you liked our little techniques on how to frame these decks nice and efficiently. Hopefully you get a little tip out of it. That's all I hope for you. But we're ready to keep moving here. Now we're on to the patio. But until next time, this is Premier Outdoor Living.